Your friend SOMMI. There is Hex FUD going around. So he says this guy, Remoney at JDuprex, put 2 million into Hex at 10 cents. It became $10 million. He did not sell. He got greedy. Price retraces. He sells for loss and tells the SEC he got scammed. Share my detailed FUD crackdown to Hex and Pulsechain friends. Yes, I will share this. So yeah, we could actually just read this. It's our featured story. And hopefully you guys are active in the comment section, and we can make this more of a Q&A kind of thing. But there's not much going on in terms of broader crypto news. And so, yeah. So there we go. Part one. There's FUD going around from a Twitter user, Remoney, who got interviewed by the SEC. Initially, when you read it, you think Richard Hart got told to cease all operations in 2021. Remoney Fudder doesn't know how to string together sentences. So I went through in detail what he's saying and why everybody is misrepresenting it. As a basic summary, this guy is calling Hex a scam because his price went down after he bought it. He bought it around 10 cents and it went to 15 cents. He did not sell. Now it comes back to 1.8 and he's calling it a scam. So this guy sold $2 million of Bitcoin and rotated into Hex in July 2021. He then messaged Richard Hart privately in DM saying, I just put my last $2 million into Hex. Remoney then says he expected Richard Hart to give him private insider information. He wanted Richard Hart to tell him that he's being an idiot for buying now and to step back and wait, as in he wanted to basically get an edge over the rest of the community secretly. Instead, Richard Hart messages him saying congratulations on being rich and followed him on Twitter. Note, Richard Hex price was 10 cents at the time. His 2 million became 10 million at the top, but he did not exit. Instead, he is now saying he got scammed. Remoney says he has New York lawyers for the subpoena, and they told him Richard Hart's own lawyers would have 100% told him to seize all operations because he's under investigation. First thing to consider, you cannot seize any operation of immutable code on the blockchain. Hex is an ERC20 running on Ethereum. That's true. Second to consider for Remoney, are you really surprised that expensive lawyers you're paying are now grooming you into believing that you got scammed? They are siphoning money out of you. What do you expect them to say? They're not your friends. You're a dollar sign to them. You told me that you had 2 million to speculate in cryptocurrency. They are trying to extract as much money from you as they can. Furthermore, so that's interesting. That's an interesting point. I don't know for sure if that's why they're saying it. They could just be saying it because they're wrong. They could just be wrong and like they think that that's what is happening. But they just really don't know. Or it could be they are, maliciously trying to extract money from this guy by telling him like, oh yeah, he's a con man, he's a fraudster. Both possibilities, but the overall point is there even evidence that he's under investigation? These lawyers wouldn't know. Nobody would know. So there's no evidence of that even happening. And there's certainly no evidence that he was told to seize operations. And there's no evidence that even if he was told that he did seize operations. So everything from this guy's obviously not from Sami, but from this Remoney guy is completely speculative and probably related to the fact that he's down a lot, which sucks, but that doesn't mean you have to be a baby. You could be mature about it. You were told that dips were 90% dips were part of the game, 95%. You told me that you had 2 million to speculate in crypto. Furthermore, I really doubt that your lawyer told your lawyers in the SEC all these factual details, and you probably didn't tell them I was worth 10 million at the top, but I didn't sell. You probably also didn't tell them that if you kept your 2 million in Bitcoin, it would also be a 50% loss today from 32K in July 2021 down to 16K in January 2023. Exactly. Bitcoin dropped, 80%. You admitted that you sold 47 million Hex for a big loss. So actually you just went 500% in profit and then it came back and you sold the low. Nobody told you to sell. Why didn't you sell the top when you had 10 million? Because you got greedy. Your lawyer won't tell you that. That's true. Remoney then tries to tell us that Richard Hart is cringe for trying to get Elon Musk's attention, but what Remoney doesn't know is that he's a pleb. Richard Hart is trying to help promote your bags to the rest of the world. However, because you have now sold and capitulated, you're out of the game. This is a common psychological effect for investors who realize a loss and quit. Note that Elon Musk pumped Dogecoin in 2021. Should we put him in jail too? Should Elon seize all operations at Tesla and SpaceX? Final words. Please share this with your friends in Hex and Pulsechain community. Follow me on Twitter. Please follow him. Your most valuable content. Yeah, great point. We could actually go to the original tweets that he got. Just to really look at what he's saying and what he's saying it based off, because it's very easy to call Hex a scam now, to say all these bad things are happening, because it sort of feeds on the fear that everyone's experiencing right now, essentially. Okay, let's go to the thread. Okay, here he is. J Duprex. Before I tell my Hex story, I was MYOB. I don't know what that means. Selling 47 million Hex. Yeah, he sold 47 million on Thursday. Moving on at a big loss, 80s hair, Mr. Know-It-All felt he needed to insult the person that just dumped Hex, me. He didn't realize as a Hex subpoena recipient and day prior 2-hour interview, I was given lots of info. Here we go. If I happen to be lying, why have most of the relevant OGs in Richard Hart blocked me? My message remains open. Why aren't they saying, hey, bro, stop lying, stop fudding Hex? The truth hurts. They're all OGs that dumped on people's heads after the Elon tweet, price pumped to 50 cents. So they dumped on people's head after the tweet. Why did it pump to 50? It's just like making stuff up. Like, yeah, people are going to block you when you're saying these things. You're just being annoying and you're saying things based on nothing. Like, what's the point in even addressing it? I guess I'm addressing it. So I guess it makes for good content, sort of, but they're very big accounts and it would probably just cause more panic just merely addressing it. I don't know. In July, after listening to him bash Bitcoin and upsell Hex, I sold my last 2 million Bitcoin and bought 2 million Hex. That's what he does very, very good, brilliantly. He promotes a scam and bashes Bitcoin relentlessly, as well as any other coin. I Twitter messaged him to tell him that I did this swap. Instead of being the caring person he claims to be, saying to himself, wait a minute, I'm under investigation. Again, that's not necessarily true. And this guy tells me he just put his 2 million tax. Maybe I should tell him, hey, pleb, step back, wait a while. He says, congratulations on being rich, house coming. First of all, there's no evidence that he's under investigation. There's no evidence that he was under investigation at the time. In fact, he likely wasn't. And he probably still isn't, but regardless, the point is, how's he's supposed to say, hey, don't buy it now. Don't buy it now. Like, he doesn't know what future price performance would be. In fact, he was saying that, like, I remember when it drew back to 20 cents, he said that was the technical target for the bottom, and it was going to go back up. Like, he doesn't know how the market's going to play out. Just because he created the project doesn't mean he can tell you future price performance. And there's no evidence that he was being investigated. But so I guess he expected price calls from him. Hey, don't buy it. I don't know. You want to DM Charles Hoskinson after you buy 2 million of ADA. Hey, I bought 2 million worth of ADA at $3, and then it dropped back. Oh yeah, he should have told me that ADA was going to go down. He should have said, wait, hold it, stay back, pleb. Like, come on, we live in the real world here. Nobody knows future price performance. Then he followed me on Twitter, the 2 million into Hex, and him following me is my guess. So it led to the subpoena. He could care less about the subpoena recipient. He's more concerned about his diet, soda aftertaste, Louis Vuitton, Rolexes. He's a jerk off. He's the best person in crypto. There you go. So a lot of baseless accusations here, and very well brought out from your friend SOMMI. But that's the thing. It's during a bad price performance, it's very easy to succumb to the narratives, to succumb to the allegations, to succumb to all the fear that everyone's feeding into, especially people like him who lost millions and millions of dollars. That's why you got to think straight. And if you were in Bitcoin during the early days, before it was even legitimized by any institution or anything, imagine what was going on back then with regards to capitulation and things like that. But the people that were able to be objective and think straight and not fall for the narratives like the China banning Bitcoin kind of things, those are the people that were able to stay in. And you got to think for yourself. And I'm saying I'm based on what I see, I don't see anything credible here. There's no evidence that he's being investigated. There's no evidence that he's basically, the lawyers for this guy said that the lawyers for Richard Hart for sure told him to shut it down. That's ridiculous. First of all, who says he's even under investigation? Who says his lawyers told him to shut it down? There's no evidence for that. It's just lawyer speculation. And I mean, SOMMI, Sami is alleging that maybe they're just doing it to feed on his emotions, to manipulate him into, using them more, I guess, paying for more hours, whatever it is. The point is, there's no evidence for that. There's no evidence for anything. And then this idea that somebody's expecting Richard Hart to tell them, hey, stand back, the price is about to crash, is also retarded. I mean, think of the standard that he gets held to as well. Like, how come nobody says these things about Vitalik or Charles Hoskinson? Like, nobody complains about like buying the top and then, he should have. They laugh you out of the room. Like, he should have told me to stand back, and the price was going to go down. Nobody knows what happens. Nobody knows future price performance. And that's why I keep saying, like, not to buy and sell based on Richard's calls and like wait for 11K Bitcoin to start DCAing into Hex. It may or may not happen. He was wrong about Hex, doing well during a bear market. It didn't do well during a bear market, and that's fine. He's a human being. That doesn't mean that Hex is a bad project. That doesn't mean Hex isn't the best crypto out there. It means that the idea that Hex was going to do well in a bear market, was going to have good price performance in a bear market, was wrong. And there was basis to believe it also, because it was doing well when Bitcoin was down 50%. I think it was at all-time highs. So whatever, it was wrong. He's a human being. He can't tell you future price performance. He can't, he can't always be right. But Hex, the code is there. The community's there. And I feel a little sorry for this guy that he got shaken out, that he sold the bottom or close to the bottom, whatever, and that he's dealing with the SEC and things like that. I'm sure it's not easy, but that doesn't mean he's right. And that doesn't mean he could just go out there and start promulgating these baseless accusations. But I don't know. That's really the way I see it. And it requires maturity and objective thinking during these times. And I think if the same way that people were able to see that when CZ said his lawyers were going to take care of it, like, that's another thing. Like, people thought, oh yeah, he's done. He doesn't have the money. It was talking about a clawback. Like, they're not just going to surrender a $2 billion clawback on national television. That would not be the appropriate answer. And that's the way you're supposed to approach it. So I think the same thing here. There's nothing tangible in these allegations regarding SEC investigation, regarding Richard Hart being a scammer and Pulsechain not launching, regarding anything, regarding shutting down Pulsechain. Like, it's ridiculous and it's baseless. And like, even moreover is like, do you expect his lawyers, who are probably in their 40s, 50s, 60s, whatever, if they're top lawyers from New York, to really understand cryptocurrency and understand, like, you can't shut it down kind of thing? Like, they just don't know anything. They don't know anything, and they're speculating. Yeah. And that's really that in terms of that. And he's also saying, a big thing he's saying is that Pulsechain's not going to launch, and Richard Hart is just stringing everyone along. That's ridiculous. And I remember when people were saying that Richard Hart didn't want to go to the US because he was scared of regulators, and he happened to have not been there in a while. Mom got sick. He went back. He was fine. He was on all the shows there. He made his rounds. These things just aren't true. These things just aren't true. But people really think that. Again, I'm going to reiterate this because we got 50 watching, and if you're enjoying the show, please like and subscribe to the channel, and please sign up to the newsletter. And yeah, if you're looking at a price chart during the bear market, like Bitcoin since its inception, you look at Ethereum since its inception, you look at those 90% corrections, it's very easy now, knowing the adoption that unfolded for Bitcoin and Ethereum and the coverage that it's getting from all these mainstream news outlets, knowing now that it ended up unfolding like this, it's very easy to look back at the corrections and say, oh, I should have just bought. I should have just bought. But during that time, you didn't have that. During that time, you didn't have that mainstream adoption. And you think it's bad what Hex is getting right now because Hex is being ridiculed by a couple of big YouTubers. Back then, Bitcoin was so fringe, it didn't even get ridiculed. It was so fringe. It was just a joke. But Chase Myers, Eric Voorhees, Roger Ver, Richard Hart moved forward. Max Kaiser, those people moved forward. They knew what was behind it, and they thought objectively, and they didn't get phased, and they were rewarded beyond their wildest dreams. And right now, you have this bad price performance. And then what happens when there's bad price performance? You think it's just, oh, the 90% dips here, the 95% dips here. Now's the time to accumulate. It's like, no, people are going to bug out. There's going to be new narratives that otherwise would not have been there. Or the narratives that are there otherwise would not have gotten anyone afraid because the price is doing well. Now that the price performance is bad, everyone's bugging out. Everyone's freaking out. Everyone's thinking it's over. That's just what happens. It's hard. It's not easy. But if you know what you got and you did your research and you didn't overinvest to the point where you're hurting, you can't take care of yourself, because then you should be fine. Then you should be fine. Or you shouldn't be in it because you researched it and decided that you didn't want it. But obviously none of this is financial advice, but that's really what happens. You think the road to financial freedom is easy, especially when in crypto you're expecting to get it in 2 to 3 years? It's not. It's not. And probably, and you think like, oh yeah, the OGs, they had like mainly uptime, but just think about the FUD back then. I mean, if the community fell apart, it might have been over, but they stuck together, and now the community is like so well grounded to the point where probably even if one big YouTuber or the other, or like a couple of them drop out, new ones will come, or other ones will step forward. It's kind of really taken on a life of its own. So I think there's definitely more certainty than the early days. Plus, in the early days, you had every mainstream YouTuber calling Richard Hart a scammer and a scam. It's easy to look at Richard Hart and say, oh yeah, he's a scammer, he's got nothing. That's very easy, but it's hard to really think objectively and look at the substance behind it and look at what he's been doing. He's been right all along. That's really the way I've seen it. He's been right all along. He's been calling out the scams. He's been exposing the scammers and Furus. His ecosystem's been the most wholesome, aside from the outrage marketing. If you're someone that, just comes in, if you're just someone that comes in and, peeks under the hood, it's very easy to say, oh yeah, these are a bunch of kooks and he's a scammer. But if you're someone who's been in this space for 6 months, and you've been seeing him telling the truth while everyone else is lying, him really, coming out there and calling people out to the extent where it hurt him. It hurt his PR because he was calling out people for doing things they shouldn't have been doing, or he's around the blockchain things, or calling out people for saying things that simply aren't true. I mean, you see that. I mean, why would you think that he's not being truthful about Pulsechain launching? It's really not launching all along, and he's just stringing you along for the ride. Like, does he seem like the person that would do it? Because he sure didn't seem like it all along until now. And I guess now people are bugging out. I think the difference really between back then and now is the price performance. And the price performance could really shake you out. It could really get you emotional. It could really get you to think things that otherwise you wouldn't have thought. So yeah, that's really what's going on. So I mean, ask yourself, is Pulsechain going to launch, or is he's lying about that? Is PulseX going to launch, or he's lying about that? It's really not. He froze it. His lawyers told him to, because other lawyers for this guy who sold the bottom told him that it's likely that his lawyers told him to. Sounds a little bit ridiculous, but it seems like something easy to succumb to when the price is down 96%. That's really that. There are a couple other tweets that really piggybacked on this I wanted to look at. We have, we'll talk about that later, but yeah. There's KDPLS. KDP.PLS says, how I know Pulsechain, PulseX, and Hex aren't a scam. Richard Hart believes in what he is building. Anonymity is for users and transactions, not founders. Accountability belongs in crypto. He has never left. He puts his whole reputation on the line here. All 100% true. All 100% true. Also, forgot to mention the origin address. Never sold. Never sold. I'm saying, like, so who's he dumping on? It's a bunch of nonsense. But yeah, he does really believe in what he's building. And he's going on Ivan on Tech. He's going on one of the biggest YouTube channels. If he were really stringing everyone along, would he be doing that? I don't think so. I don't think so. So yeah, that's a great point by KDP. And there's a lot to look forward to. We covered that. And here's another thing. Hex, this is a big deal. Pulsechain, decentralized node network. It cannot be shut down. Pulsechain will be unstoppable, censorship resistant. 590 full nodes is just the start. Pulse is about to take over. Yeah, 590 full nodes. But this is all a nothing burger, guys. This is all a nothing burger. It's like people talk like it's one of those projects where you have these anonymous founders, which unfortunately many of the projects building on Pulsechain do. He's completely out there. Everybody knows his real name. If they could find him, if they wanted to find him, they could find him in a second. I really don't believe he's hiding anything. Another sign indicative of being close to the bottom, I guess, so to speak, is All in Crypto. This account's got 45.4 thousand subscribers. It's over for Hex. Binance called for Hex Pulsechain, PulseX to implode. SEC coming for Hex. Yeah, and he was FUDing also. And it's nice to see people that really don't know much about Hex, Pulsechain, and PulseX to be FUDing. Because, oh wait, was I not sharing screen? Yeah. Now I'm sharing screen. Because that doesn't worry me. Those, like, again, it's easy. The easy way out is to say that, oh yeah, Hex is a scam. Richard Hart's a scammer. That's easy. It's easy to say that when you see everything that, the caricature of a scammer would look like being embodied by Richard Hart for outreach marketing. I mean, that's the easy way out. It's not easy to really look into it and understand the method to the madness and why it's led to so much success. And seeing these people, normie crypto channels, whatever, they got a lot of followers. They take a look at Hex for a second. Oh, scam. Oh, gets a lot of engagement. Let me cover it. What would be worrying would be people that actually know what they're talking about saying that, which is rare, with the exception of people that have an agenda, meaning people that are trying to launch other coins, their own coins. They're trying to show them. So they go out there and tell everyone that, oh yeah, Richard Hart is, he doesn't know what he's doing. It's like, really? Would you be saying that? You weren't saying that until now. Like, what changed the price? Or maybe that you're trying to launch your own coin. Maybe that's what it's really about. But aside from that, I haven't seen much of it. So again, I'm pretty bullish. So